Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome, everyone, to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. Way over the 500,000 downloads at this point. We are on the road to 1 million downloads at Referrals Podcast, and we thank you, the listener. We thank you, the viewer, for making that happen. And do we have a show for you today? We are implementing military strategy to business today. I've got in my hands one of the hottest books out there right now, The Art of War for Real Estate Agents. If you're a real estate agent, you're a lender, you're in the real estate industry, you've got to check it out. And the thing about it is, I have to tell you, like, so much of what you've heard on Referrals Podcast over the last, 400 episodes? Can you believe we're at 400 plus? That's just insane. Almost 400 episodes. And here's the thing, is that everything we do is based on strategy. And it's based on strategy on how can you beat the top real estate agent in the city. Do you know how to beat the top realtor in your city? You're going to beat them every single time. He or she who has the best relationship wins. If you have a better relationship with the person who needs to buy, sell, or invest, you will beat the number one agent in your city every single time. And how do you have that better relationship? You implement the strategies of 7L, period. And you guys know we talk all the time about building an army of ambassadors. How to win the game before the game even starts. You build an army of ambassadors. Which is better, you talking about you and shouting about you? Or is it better to have an army of people who speak highly of you and refer you often? Guess what? It's the army of ambassadors. Learn how to build an army of ambassadors. You're not going to win fighting the solo fight, people. You're not going to win that way. You need an army. So build an army of ambassadors who literally will help you win the war. But here's the thing. A lot of people try to win the war with this ultra competitive alpha male stuff about always be closing, crushing, killing, and all of that. And they hate the battle. They want to win the war, but they hate the battle. What if you could win the war and enjoy the battle? What if you could enjoy this battle to win the hearts and minds of people? And guess what? We're going to show you how to do that today. I cannot wait to jump into today's material. I'm hoping you feel the same way. And guess what? Before I do that, I got to give a big shout out to Darlene Pratt, who wrote me the nicest handwritten note. I love getting handwritten notes. She said, "Thank you for an amazing 2 days in Atlanta for Referral Mastery Summit. I can't wait to get the recordings and relive the experience. Thank you for pouring into us with so much heart and humor. Thank you for your podcast. I listen to it weekly, and here's to 1 million downloads." So thank you, Darlene Pratt. And by the way, Darlene's out of Massachusetts too. That's pretty cool. Our guest today is from Massachusetts. And here's the other thing. Military strategy. You want to know how to take over a farm? You want to know how to take over your neighborhood? Do you not want to drive through your neighborhood and find another agent having an event in your neighborhood with your friends and your neighbors and taking over your neighborhood? Guess what? It is military strategy to take over those 2 or 3 most important points in your neighborhood: the park, the clubhouse, the pool. Do you have 3 events scheduled in your farm this year that are in the park, in the clubhouse, and at the pool? If not, why not? You're losing the battle. It's a game of risk, people. You've got to step up and be first, because if you're second, you're just following. You're just copying. But if you're first, everybody's going to copy and follow you. But the truth is they won't copy and follow you because you were first. So check it out, eventmastery.com. Event Mastery class starts literally June 3rd, like June 3rd. Make it happen. Go to eventmastery.com. Check it out. We'd love to have you. And with that, speaking of what you got to check out, I cannot wait to introduce today's guest to Referrals Podcast. I am thrilled to welcome Keith Krikorian to the show. Keith is a seasoned realtor based in Framingham, Massachusetts, where he leads the Krikorian Property Consultants at Keller Williams Boston Metro West. He's also the team leader at KW Chestnut Hill with over 275 transactions under his belt. He's not only a top performing agent, but also respected team leader and mentor. And here's the thing, he is the author of The Art of War for Real Estate Agents. You've got to go make that happen. Go to Amazon, go where you can get it. A strategic guide that adapts Sun Tzu's timeless military principles to the modern real estate battlefield. It is a battlefield, people. It is a battlefield. His book has quickly become a top release on Amazon, earning praise for its actionable insights and compelling approach to outmaneuvering the competition. So whether you're a new agent looking to build a solid foundation or a seasoned pro aiming to sharpen your strategic edge, Keith's insight are sure to provide valuable guidance. Let's dive in. Please welcome to Referrals Podcast, Keith Krikorian. Keith, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, absolutely my pleasure. And so we got to start with the origin story, right? Sun Tzu, The Art of War, one of my favorite books, right? And I also love the spinoff that Stephen Pressfield did called The War of Art, right? So you put those two together and it's a beautiful thing. The War of Art, The Art of War, and it's like the creative side, the logical side, and it's just a powerful combination, those two books. So what led you to connect Sun Tzu's The Art of War with the world of real estate?
So I found myself, writing a lot of classes, teaching, speaking, you're coaching agents and all of that. And just like you, I mean, I'm a huge student of Sun Tzu, right? I've read the book a million times, The Art of War. And I found myself, I just keep going to lessons that I've internalized over the years. You quote it, and a lot of times they don't know what you're talking about. Sometimes they do, but you're always saying, man, we gotta employ these lessons that we learned in The Art of War. And I'll just go off on a tangent. And I said, someday I got to write this down. So I did.
Love it. Love it. And so how long ago was that where you're like first deciding I've got to tie The Art of War to this real estate game?
Oh God, 8 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. 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 So how long did it take you to write the book?
Not long, honestly. I did a little bit of work and then I put it down for a bit. We get busy. And then I said, I just kept quoting the book. I just kept teaching the lessons. And I'm like, I have to pick it back up. I picked it back up and cranked it out in a couple months. And it was fulfilling to do. It was good to do.
I love it. I love it. All right. So Sun Tzu said, every battle is won before it's fought. How does this idea apply to real estate?
Man, you even said it at the beginning as soon as you kicked us off, right? I mean, every battle's won before it's fought. And a lot of these people, they don't even like the battle. They follow what other people do, and they just said, this is the way I have to do it. This is what it means to be a real estate agent. But when you're truly prepared, when you've done that homework, when you've kind of anticipated what's coming next, you won the battle already. Now it's just time to go out and do what you do best. That's it. It takes the pressure off.
I absolutely love that because, I mean, now I'm going to tie everything to I have a narrow vision on life, right? I think I'm wide vision, but I also know I have bias like everybody else, and so the thing about it is like in real estate, it might be more important to win the battle before it is fought than any other industry in the world because the stats show 83% of all buyers and sellers go with the first agent they meet with. So you either win the fight before it's fought or you don't even get a chance to fight.
That's
right?
That's right.
Is that what you're seeing? Is that applicable? Or am I just I'm going to tie everything to relationships and referrals, brother? I just am, right?
Yeah, you know what you taught me when we sat down when I was writing this book and you helped me out? You said, I'm literally reading it from the book. The reason for your business is to be referable. If you're not referable, something's wrong. There it is. There it is. This is a relationship business. Every now and then, someone we're in a relationship says, I know somebody looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate, and we're referable. And that's how you're going to win right out the bat. You built your whole career is that, man. You're a referable guy. That's it. That's the start.
Well, I appreciate that. And I do believe that 100% that our purpose in life is to be referable. Because, if they can't count on you, if people can't count on you, you're doing something wrong. Like you need to become better at being counted on, in my opinion, right? And so, all right, I'm telling you, every battle is won before it's fought. Is just it also talks to like planning and being proactive, not being reactive. So many agents are It's like, do you answer the phone when it rings? And that's the thing is like, in some cases, people are like, well, you're a good agent because you answer the phone when it rang. But it's like, what made the phone ring? Like what that's proactive is like, let's do things that are going to make the phone ring more often. Or why did they have to call me? And a great example of that is every seller every Monday, right? So we call every seller every Monday, and it's like, well, why, right? Well, first of all, we need to communicate with them, but we always tell them we're going to call you every Monday because we're going to speak to you when the market is speaking the loudest, and the market speaks the loudest in real estate on weekends. So we're going to call you on Monday. Well, what that did is we would not get calls all weekend from our seller because they knew we were going to call on Monday, right? And it's one of those where so we actually decreased calls from hundreds of calls a week to 2 or 3 calls. We would get the mud through we'd get the forgotten key, we'd get those occasionally, but we weren't getting all those, marketing calls and like what's going on or what happened with the showing. They knew that we were going to talk on Monday. So that's one of those where what's the battle? The battle is reactive time in your schedule. And how do you win it? By being proactive and proactively communicate. So I just love that you work that into the book and how powerful it is. All right. So how can agents prepare the battlefield in today's market? What does that actually look like in the modern era?
So I mean, it's preparation, man, right? So with preparation, I mean, the more we do up front, the better we're going to win. I mean, just like you said, it's being prepared. All battles are won before they are ever fought. So if that's the case, what do we need to know? We need to know our terrain. That's one of the chapters in the book. We need terrain. We need to understand what's going on our market. People talk about interest rates. They talk about what's going on locally. They talk about the politics. They talk about the new rotary that's going in town, right? I mean, all of these things are our terrain. So it's understanding and mastering your own market. That's part of it. So if you really understand it all, you have a leg up on, I'd like to say more than 80% of the agents in your office because you understand the time on market, you understand average sale prices, all of that stuff. That's part of your terrain. And when you know that, you have such a leg up and it doesn't take long to learn. It just takes a little bit of preparation, really. We have the tools to do that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. One of the things I've got these intensive groups that I coach every once in a while, and we do 6 months only. Like I fire them after 6 months, but it's hard. Like it's like boot camp a little bit for real estate agents, and they're all required that the first thing they do when they come into the office is they get the hot sheet from MLS, right? The hot sheet. So because I mean, they're already telling me. They're telling me the trends now in their different markets just by looking at the hot sheet on a daily basis, where they're seeing expireds up, they're seeing prices stay flat, they're seeing inventory rise, they're seeing some of these things, and it's like, all right, what do you do with that, right? And it's like, well, I need to educate the sellers that we need to make sure we don't price above the previous comp. We need to maybe price at or below it because the market's flattening a little bit. And that all came from them looking at the hot sheet and seeing like what's going on in their county, what's going
Mhm.
on in their area. So I absolutely love that. And life's different than in Sun Tzu times, right? He was advising the great generals of the time. And so what's the enemy in real estate?
Yeah, that's the thing. So, I call it, it's the art of war, and it's the art of war for real estate agents. So people are saying war. Well, that sounds a little harsh, and you
Mm-hmm.
said right at the beginning, this is all military strategy. It applies to everything. So who's our enemy? I look at it more as who's sitting across the table from me. They're not your enemy. I'm not at war with these people. The business is like a war, and we run it with these strategies. But, you know, I know every agent watching this has had a time where they were like, geez, what was that other agent thinking? Or what was my broker thinking? Or my client, I just can't seem to get through to them. I can't seem to get through to them. Well, they're not your enemy, but maybe we should look at ourselves and say, did I approach this in a way that they're going to understand? in a way they're going to feel comfortable, in a way they're going to hear the information and say, okay, now I'm comfortable, even though he had said it a different way before and I wasn't comfortable and I kind of felt like I had to push back. Now you're
Mm.
working together. Because so many times you see it all the time. I mean, agents or a home inspector and an agent, they're just doing this
Yeah. Yeah.
all the
Like
time.
why, right? Yeah.
And
We're
why?
trying to
And it's
work
like,
together.
yeah,
Is it
work
Sun Tzu
together.
that is it Sun Tzu that said the best way to conquer an enemy is to make them your friend? Or is that somebody else?
I'm thinking you're thinking The Godfather. Keep your friends close to your enemies. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, no, it's sewn in there, not in those words, but it is
Yeah.
sewn in there. You know.
Really, Sun Tzu was about conquering. So it wouldn't surprise me that it wasn't in there.
Hmm.
But it really applies here is the best way to conquer an enemy is to make them your friend, right? And
Hmm.
that's the whole thing with inspectors and other agents and is listen, we're all here to help the buyer and seller come to a closing. There's no reason to argue, to fight, to do this and that kind of thing. And even to the point so I had this agent that was like being super rude, and I just had to tell her like, hey, listen, what have I been rude to you? And it just stopped her in her tracks, and she was just like, man, you know what? I've just had a rough day. These clients have kind of been tough on me the whole time, and I am so sorry. And guess what? We were able to put it together, make it happen, and realize that we were all on the same team to really make this happen. So, I love that with there really are no enemies. And I would also say that sometimes, like for me, the biggest enemy was me. It really was. That was the biggest enemy for me and my success is overcoming limiting beliefs, overcoming hesitation, overcoming a poor upbringing, overcoming I'm from a small town, overcoming the whole thought of I shouldn't do luxury products because I've never sold one before. Like, I mean, honestly, is the enemy us sometimes?
I think it is. And I think that, we keep talking about our enemy and we talk about, all right, so they're trying to accomplish something. Once we understand that they're just trying to accomplish something, they have some sort of agenda they're trying to see to the end. Okay, well, now we probably should look at ourselves and
Mm,
say, we're trying to accomplish something. And just like you said at the very beginning of this, why are we trying to do the whole macho, get in your face, I've been doing this for 20 years, all that stuff we hear all the time, and instead say, they're trying to accomplish something, advocate for their client. I'm trying to advocate for my client
no.
in their best interest. Why don't I take a look at what's making me tick right now? Why am I not looking at it and saying, am I the one that's getting a little sideways or squirrely here? What do I need to do so next time I can show up better and I can show up like the professional our client deserves, by the way? Maybe I
Yeah.
should take a look at, maybe it was me. Maybe I got in my own way. Maybe I wasn't quite understanding that they're just trying to accomplish something for their client and I'm trying to fight them. Maybe I should stop and sit there and say, how do we work together? How's this a
Mm.
win-win? If everybody wins, we're in good shape. We did our jobs.
Yeah, I hope everybody hears that, right? Just do they have the emotional intelligence and the time to reflect to even think on that? There's so many agents just totally get in their own way because they feel like it needs to be combative. It needs to be, they need to fight for their agents. But what they really need to do is fight for the entire thing, right? Fight for the team, fight for, this to be the right scenario and the right experience for their client. So I absolutely love that. And that kind of feeds into the next one is, Sun Tzu always emphasized the importance of positioning. What are some ways real estate agents can position themselves as the obvious choice in their market?
Okay, so going after that part in their market, I mean, I say, what is your market? Every time I teach a class, I say, what's your market? Is it geographical? Is it a price point? Do you only do, investments? Do you only do, a certain demographic, whatever it happens to be? Sometimes it's not. I mean, when I started off, I'll go anywhere. I'll drive
Mhm.
2 hours away. I'm taking
Amen.
it, right?
Yeah,
I'm
referrals will
taking
take
it.
you all over the city, right?
You know
Yeah.
something? I'll probably do that today. I'm scared of how far I drive in today's, you know what I mean? But on the other hand, when it doesn't take long, I hear from my agents all the time, and they're like, "Well, this guy, at X, Y, and Z company, they've got that whole area on lock." I said, "Okay, today, you know
Mm.
how long it would take for you to go in there, establish your presence, and take over? It's not that much time. It is not that much time. Go
Yeah.
in, learn the area, learn your average price points, learn what's going on. Get involved with the town if you have to. Figure out what's going to affect. All right, they're about to build this over in the corner. Does that mean jobs coming, jobs leaving? Does that mean they're going to put in a new rotary, like I said earlier? I mean, if you show up and you go all in on a certain area or a certain price point or a certain niche, man, you can take that over so quickly. And it's proven time and time again. People don't think they can. So they're hesitant, and that's why getting to know ourselves, learn what makes you tick, figure out what you want and go get it. You can
Mm.
take over any part of any market and it does not take long. It does
Yeah.
not take long.
Yeah, I love that. Positioning such a key to the battle, right? Where, you know, is in battle, one of the things that will really set you up for success is high ground, right? And that high and that's kind of where, they say take the high road or take the high ground kind of comes from that. And that was a big part of Art of War and Sun Tzu was how to get to the high ground first, take prepare the battlefield, right? And battle them where you want versus battling them on their own turf or their own comfort level or whatever it may be. So I love that. And I want to kind of dive into that is sometimes the enemy is me, you know, because like what lessons from the art of war help agents lead themselves better or conquer the enemy that is me in terms of discipline, time management, or personal growth.
Oh man, there's so much to unpack there, right? I mean, first getting to know ourselves again. I think the reason why I felt so strongly about writing this book also is not because I wonder if people kind of lose their cool during a deal. No, it's because I've lost my cool during a deal. I have gotten in my own way. I have felt that rage up in me a little bit. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I need to start figuring out why am I doing this? What's causing it? Am I not seeing things clearly? Whatever it is. So getting to know ourselves, I mean, a lot of people will take some sort of personality profile. That's good, but you kind of have to internalize it and say, all right, I give some examples in the books when it comes to different, you're dealing with the engineer brain, and all I want to do is talk and talk and talk.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm in we'll call it that high D mode, I'm just like, let's go, let's go. Meanwhile, my engineer client, I need to put something in his hand. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about that, and I failed where if I just brought him the information, the literature he needed to read, he would be so much more comfortable. Instead, I'm just an agent looking like I'm selling something. Well, I'm not. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to help. And I didn't think that far ahead is he my enemy? No. I was the enemy there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to reach across the table and make him feel comfortable. So he had the tools he needed to make a decision. And
Mm-hmm.
that was on me. There was a couple other things you brought in there. Well, you know, uh, preparation
Discipline, time
calendar.
management, personal
Oh,
growth, right?
Oh man, time management. If I was going to say my biggest fault, not that I don't have a ton of them, but my biggest one when it comes to it, even to this day, and I teach it at a high level, time management. We all have the same 24 hours. When I ask one of my agents or someone I'm coaching, and I sit there and I say, okay, what do you need to do to hit this goal? What's your goal? Here it is. What do you need to do to get it? Great. What's going to get in the way of it? What is gonna hijack your time, what's gonna hijack your energy, and then the last thing I say, what are you willing to do?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what I want, this is what
Mm-hmm.
it's going to take, but what are you willing to do? Are you actually going to make, let's just call it 20 contacts a day, right? Are you actually going to put in the time to learn your terrain? Are you actually going to put in the time to figure out what's making you tick? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That calendar, that discipline, and again, discipline, it doesn't take much. We know
Mm-hmm.
that, right? We've gone through this a million times. We wake up in the morning, the last thing we want to do is exactly what we're supposed to do because we're looking at it wrong. When you
Mm-hmm.
look at it as all I have to do is this and I hit my goals, it's easy. Get it in the calendar, protect that time block, and don't overbury yourself with stuff. Just get
Yeah.
that top 20% done. You're good.
Love it. Love it. So, if an agent could apply just one core principle from the art of war for real estate agents, like tomorrow, what should it be? And what would they see as a change from applying that principle?
I think that there's a couple different things. One of the big key takeaways is obviously going to be what you said. Your job is to be referable.
Mm.
Okay, that's great. How do we do that? So if all battles are won before they're ever fought, that's what people should take away is all battles are won before they're ever fought, and everything they're about to do, say, okay, did I prepare for this? Do I see a few steps ahead? And, I know you asked for one answer, but I love yours. You got to be referable.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? Let's learn our market. Let's learn who we are. Let's understand that the person at the other end of this table, they're just trying to accomplish something and we can work together or we can butt heads. No
Mm-hmm.
one wins in that scenario, So let's learn our market. Something else a little nugget you dropped in when we were talking about writing this book, when I was writing this book. And practice 5 contracts. Confidence is everything, in my opinion. If you're confident because you put in the work, there's nothing that comes across that you didn't already foresee.
Yeah.
And I said to you, I asked you, what should these agents be doing? You're like, write 5 contracts, 5 fictitious fake contracts every single week. Find
Yep.
your mentor, find your broker, find your accountability buddy, and debrief them. How much more confident are you when you walk into an appointment and you just know that whatever they need, you're going to be able to provide because it's not the first time you're looking at it. You've
Yep.
put in the time. What's the average sale price around here? Okay, well, you've done the research and it doesn't take long. You are the trusted advisor. Now you're referable. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that if people were going to take anything after reading this book, you know, every battle is won before it's ever fought. Your job is to be referable. So what work do I need to do to learn my terrain, to learn who I am, to learn what the other person's going through and how we might be able to build a bridge and take care of it, get across and shake hands instead of fighting all the time. Put in the work, be prepared, win that battle before it's fought because you're already prepared. Nothing is a
Yeah.
surprise to you. Nothing. You're
Yep.
prepared for anything.
Love it. Love it. Are there any other we've talked about every battle is won before it's fought. We talked about prepare the battlefield. We've talked about positioning. Are there any other phrases or reminders or military strategy principles that Sun Tzu really advocated that we haven't talked about that are some of your favorites?
So, I mean, some of my favorites are things we've already kind of touched upon, but if you know yourself and you know your enemy, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. But,
Hmm.
I'm not going to quote it exactly, but, if you know
Yeah.
yourself and not your enemy or your enemy
Yeah.
and not yourself, you're going to only win, 50% of them. Man, you put in a little bit of time to get to know yourself and what the other people are going through and what they need to feel comfortable. You walk away, everything changes for you.
Mm.
Everything changes. You're not fighting each other like we do in this industry. We are
Yeah.
working together to get to an outcome, and the ultimate winner is the clients.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I keep going back to another one that has been kind of just interesting in my application. I also coach high school football. So military strategy is a huge part of that, right? And a big one from Sun Tzu that it just always echoes through my head is appear where unexpected, right? And that's where the ambush comes from in military strategy, right? And that's where the misdirection really applies. Is instead of coming from this angle, we're going to come from this angle, and instead of butting our heads directly, right, we're going to come from some other different angle and go from a different direction. And that was really the basis of my entire triangle of trust stuff that I teach in 7L, where it's like instead of like going to people directly and trying to sell myself, I always wanted to go the indirect route where a person they knew would introduce me to that other person. And I tell the Dave Ramsey endorsements, how I got the Dave Ramsey endorsement story sometimes is everybody was going direct to the real estate guy for Dave Ramsey. And like he had 200 people literally throwing cards on his table, and there was no system. It was just a mob. And I went to Stephanie Evelo, KW agent out of Indy, right? And she knew the real estate guy for Dave Ramsey. I went to her and I go, hey, listen, like when it calms down for him, can you introduce the two of us? Well, she actually grabbed my hand, walked through the mob of 250 agents, took me behind the table, and introduced me, like took him from like to facing me and introducing me. And Stephanie was basically, this is a guy you need to know. And he's a top eight. And the guy goes, hey, listen, as you can tell, it's pretty crazy right now, but we're going to dinner later on, and I'd love to talk more with you then. And I was like, that sounds great, awesome. So later on, we had dinner. had a great conversation, and that led to him putting my book, a first book, by a realtor. Like, who cares? I mean, honestly, in front of Dave Ramsey, and Dave Ramsey ended up endorsing the book, and it happened from an indirect, appear where unexpected. Instead of like just fighting the battle against 250 others, I won the battle by a misdirect or an indirect. And so that's really stuck in my head. I mean, The Art of War is must reading. And here's what's really cool. If it's a real estate agent, they don't even need to read The Art of War now. They just need to read The Art of War for real estate agents that you wrote, because you've applied everything from it and made it into really simple language. So, Keith, I just want to thank you for the industry, and just like applaud your efforts on what you've done with this book and everything else. And just, kudos on this. So,
Man, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your willingness to step in and give some pointers and help out when I was writing it. And something just came across my mind. When they read this, they're going to walk away, and one action step they're going to do is they're going to interview their broker. They're going to interview some of the agents in their office that they look up to and respect. And they're going to learn, just like I said earlier, man, I made the mistakes. So I love being able to teach and say, let's not go that way. You're going to sit there and say, all right, how do I become referable so nobody can take my people?
yep.
They're going to read this, and they're going to go and they're going to ask a lot of top agents in their office, some of their co-brokes, whatever it is. They're going to ask them questions. Well, how did you do it? What would you do if you had to start over again? If you had to go back to day one, what would you have done differently? And what are they going to say? Oh man, yeah, I wouldn't have done this. I would have done this. I would have not listened to this. And they're going to walk just from that, just from the things that they read in here. They're going to have a blueprint on what to ask and how to, but that is going to be the biggest thing. And then it's going to be off to the races.
I love it. That reminds me of Alexander the Great, right? It is that, so he actually learned, and I don't know if he learned it from Sun Tzu, because I don't think chariots were a part of their game back then. It was more ground troops. But Alexander Great tells the story about how he defeated the chariots for the first time. Was they created a box, basically, and at the front of the box were spears, so the horses stopped, right? So the horses would stop. They would funnel them between two forces, and then at the end of the force were pointed sticks, essentially, and the horse would stop. The two horses would stop, or the horse would stop, and the chariot would stop. And all of a sudden, now you can attack the chariot from the sides, right? But it was like, the reason he won that war is because he learned from the generals of the past. And that's what you're talking about. Interview the people who have won wars in the past, and they're going to tell you exactly how to win the war. Now, it's up to you to take, I mean, that's what all of our systems are. That's what all the systems you teach are. Here's the path to success. Some will take it and some won't. But at the very least, they're there to learn from, and they're there to success leaves clues. So we should probably learn from that. So I love that. And that's what Sun Tzu really talked about a lot, was learning. I mean, what is the art of war? It's essentially all of the lessons that he's learned from generals and from his experience, and put into a book so others could win wars. That's really what it was.
And it's being prepared. And that's
Yeah.
that's a big part of it, talking to those generals or other agents. And you're going to say, man, I really like Susie's business over there, but that part's not quite me. John over there, I don't like 90% of it, but that couple nuggets, I'm going to implement that because of who I am and how I'm going to run my business. And it saves so much time. Learn from those who came before us.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Love it. Love it. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being our guest here today on Referrals Podcast. You knocked it out of the park. I knew you would. And once again, kudos on the success of the art of war in real estate for real estate agents. And man, I'm excited about your future. It's awesome.
I really appreciate you having here. And I got to tell you, it means a lot to me to always be able to talk to you and be able to talk to you like this. I always leave it feeling awesome. You're awesome to talk to, and I really appreciate this.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Maybe go check out The Art of War for Real Estate Agents with Keith Krikorian. You've got to check it out on Amazon. You can get it out there. Also, make sure you follow his Instagram page, Keith Krikorian. Go check it out. You can search for him. His last name is extremely unique, so he's pretty easy to find. Krikor. Ian Krikorian, and make sure you follow that. And ladies and gentlemen, listen, if you liked what we covered today, I'm just telling you, I know what our next episode is like too. You're going to like that one or love it as much or more. So make sure that you subscribe to Referrals Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, if you're on YouTube, I encourage you to go to YouTube and go to Get Referrals. Our channel on YouTube is called Get Referrals. If you want to get referrals, go to the Get Referrals channel on YouTube. We'd love to have you. Last but not least, listen, one of the ways to win the war is to have an event. Bring people together, make it happen. And I'm going to show you how to do that in Event Mastery. Go check it out at eventmastery.com. Starts very, very soon, June 3rd, and we'd love to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time on Referrals Podcast.